Friday, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to the PHNX Coyotes Podcast. And shout out to OG's Brands, the official sponsor of Flavoring Fridays. Head on over to ogsbrands.com to see their full lineup, including their two newest gummies, the OG's Naturals and the Big OG's, and find out where you can purchase.
You know, I'm in a grape kind of mood today.
Oh, I can see that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Lyndsey.
There's a lot of purple going on this side of the room. I'm Leah here with Purple Craig and Grumpy Steve and Danielle behind the Mac. How's everybody doing today?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what. Usually on an OG Friday,
it
must be the post birthday. The cake was fine, Craig. The cake was fine. Stop talking about the goddamn cake.
Just fine. You heard that, Tara.
But it's Friday, and it's kind of like you're supposed to be on an OG's Friday. You're supposed to have that kind of vibe. I don't have that today. So
okay.
Just be ready. I just want everybody's pre-warned.
We'll get to your birthday.
So if anybody's feelings get hurt, you've been warned.
Oh my goodness. Well, don't forget to hit the like button while you're here. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Lots to get into today. We're going to eventually, have a little Friday fun day, talk about PD's birthday, our usual shenanigans. Lyndsey Fry joins to chat, skating for Leighton, the PWHL, and a little Coyotes talk. But first, you guys.
What?
It's January 19th. The NHL trade deadline is March 8th.
We've got a big break to eat up some time, too. So there's not a lot of games left. Is that what you're saying?
It's time to talk about the trade deadline.
It might be. It might be a tad premature, but
the Coyotes, listen, they lose to Vancouver. They've been on kind of a skid overall, especially in 2024. They continue to slide in the standings. They're 5 points out of a playoff spot as of this very moment, a wild card spot. You have to start thinking, okay, will they maybe sell off at the deadline like they have in the past? I don't know. Are they going to be buyers? Definitely not. Will they hold still? Who knows? There's still a lot of games to be played between now and then, but I don't think it's too early to start talking about if they were to make some moves at the deadline and sell off some players, who those players could be, or even just who among the Coyotes players has any value to be traded.
I want to lead this off with the walk-off quote in my midseason report from General Manager Bill Armstrong. I like our team. Generally, I don't want to break them apart, but there's some transparency with the group that if we're not going the right way, then management has to do what they have to do. That's something to think about, right? We've talked all season. We talked with Lyndsey Fry today, Petey, about how big picture this franchise is progressing. But are we at the point where they're adding pieces at the deadline, or they're standing pat because they don't want to break up this team and they feel good about? No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Again, there's still a little time to recover before the All-Star break. There's 5 very crucial games before the All-Star break. If they somehow surprise us yet again and jump back a little closer, okay, let's hold off on the trade deadline talk. If they slide, on the other hand, if we're talking about like an 8-9 point deficit at the trade deadline, you got to start having these conversations.
The difference, though, from this season from the previous 2 seasons is the intent going in on game 1 was to get rid of players at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
It was no secret. We knew it from the very beginning of the season. This is a little different in that they're not having the same type of player as restricted and unrestricted free agents as they did over the last 2 years. So that may not necessarily be the case. Having said that, this team is in no position to go, yeah, this is our group. We're going with them forever, because that's clearly, this is an ad. Like, this isn't the group that's going to win them the Stanley Cup.
Right.
And conversely, if you look at, and we're going to look at their UFA and RFA group, they're not bringing in a big haul like the expectations were coming into this season. So I think this is going to be a very interesting trade deadline for GM Bill Armstrong. I'm not sure he's going to have the success that he has had in the previous seasons trade deadlines, because I just don't know if the rate of return is going to be there for the players on this roster that he's willing to get rid of. Now, there are players on this roster that could get a premium without a doubt right now, but I don't know if those are pieces he's willing to move.
That we'll get to that in a minute. Like normally when you're talking trade deadline, you're looking at guys who are on expiring contracts, UFAs to be more exact. And when they made their moves this summer, and you looked at the players that they brought in, the two guys that rose to the top of that list, you thought, okay, here's a guy that they're definitely going to flip at the deadline, and they'll get something significant for him. Are Matt Dumba and Jason Zucker. Neither of those guys has great value right now because neither of those guys has made a big impact. There are questions about both of those players' games right now. So unless they right that ship within the next month, I have to wonder what their actual value is on the open market.
Yeah, and I think when Dumba came to this club, I think the expectations were that he's got an expanded role. He was kind of sheltered in Minnesota behind Spurgeon and Brodin, and now he's going to be the guy, and he's going to his emergence as an offensive defenseman is going to return, and he is going to be elite. And wow, I just can't wait to see. And that just didn't happen.
Yeah,
at least to this point, it hasn't happened. Now, I think, is he still a guy that somebody would add to their roster? Maybe.
For depth, right?
Yeah, but he's not going to command the first or second round draft picks that I think that you want to use to build and fill your cupboards for the future. So I'm not sure that he is going to be able to command what the expectations were from Matt Dumba. Zucker, again, almost the exact same story. I mean, Zucker, when you saw him playing in Pittsburgh, was a guy that was a secondary scoring threat for that team that was full of top-end talent. And you said, gosh, on this team, maybe he's going to find a way to break out. He's got 6 goals right now. He's been injured, been up and down the lineup. And again, I don't think he's been that spark player that can even at his age play with a little bit of pace. I don't think that that's the player that we've seen to this point for the Coyotes.
Yeah. I haven't delved into this yet to understand what their market value is, and it may be premature to do that anyway, but I agree with you. Like right now, I have a hard time envisioning either one of these players bringing a first or second round draft pick.
No.
I don't see it happening.
Yeah, and I don't know. Again, when you talk about who is available to that, it's not their UFAs.
And
because the list of UFAs, you look at last year, and there's some of the same guys that were like Stetcher's going to be a UFA.
Yeah, and he could be another depth addition, but it's do you bother moving him for like a late round pick?
Because they did it at the end of the last year.
Yeah,
and I'm not even sure that he's having the season he had a year ago. Even though the team is performing better, I don't know if his role has even taken a little bit of a step back and he's playing less minutes. And so I'm not sure he's going to command maybe like at what point do you say is it worth the trade pick? Because you still need to field a team with 6 defensemen on it. So
yeah,
I'm not sure he's going to command what he had a year ago. Josh Brown clearly isn't, and Travis Dermott. And I don't know if they're ready to part ways with Travis Dermott either. So it's not the guys that you've seen in the past couple of years. Like Gostisbehere last year was getting traded and he was going to command a big return. You knew it. He'd rejuvenated his career. He was playing extremely well. He's a guy that he's still young enough to compete in the playoffs. And he got a top pick for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bukestad had a resurgence in his career and he got traded to Edmonton for a 3rd round pick, but it's still...
And Kesselring.
Michael Kesselring.
And Kesselring. Yeah. So unbelievable return.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case now.
And also the Coyotes have so many draft picks.
That's so many. Side
it's
of this.
How many more do you need? If you I get it for a first or second round pick. Like, yeah, let's flip them for that. But if you're gonna get like a 4th or a 5th, unless you're just trying to move money, I don't know. For this team and what the team has on the horizon in terms of draft picks, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it's an interesting calculus to do in your head. It doesn't matter what's happening in our heads. It's what they're going to think about. And I know that Bill wants to keep extending things out. So maybe you look at acquiring draft picks that are down the road rather than in the next couple drafts so that you can keep accumulating draft picks. But again, none of them are that high. So it's not like they have massive value. When you look at the players, though, and I know you alluded to this already, Petey, that might have the most value, they're all guys with short-term left on their deal. So let's talk about some of those guys. First of all, 2 of the guys they brought in the offseason, Nick Bukestad and Alex Kerfoot, who they signed to 2-year deals. So sometimes those deals are actually attractive to other clubs. If you can know that a guy's coming back for an extra season, you're going to have that service from him. Both of these guys have been very productive in their roles.
Yeah.
But do you remove a piece like this from the roster that has been sort of instrumental in helping create the culture and vibe
Petey
of the team?
would be devastated if they traded Nick Bjugstad for a second time.
Again,
he wouldn't handle it.
Can't do it again. And to correct point, what's the long-term benefit? If you're talking about I don't think he can command what he did a year ago right now, Nick Bjugstad. I think Alex Kerfoot could. I think Kerfoot, of the guys we've mentioned so far, I think he's probably the one that the teams would look at and go, okay, he's a valuable guy in a playoff run.
Oh my God, up and down your lineup, on the PK, on the power play, everywhere.
And he can play with pace. And again, we talk about speed and the ability to play quickly in today's game. You need to have that. And I think Kerfoot, of all the players we mentioned, has the best ability to do that. I'm not sure they're ready to part with him because you still need to provide the culture to provide for the younger players that are developing. You need to show that winning culture. You need to show a guy that does it the right way and is playing in the NHL, working hard. And I think those Bjugstad and Kerfoot specifically, at what they're paying them, they're important assets for this team. And are they more important than a third or fourth round pick? I think they are, because a third or fourth round pick, the reality of a third, and maybe it's a second round pick, maybe for Kerfoot, maybe. A late second round pick, but you're talking the third or fourth round picks, the likelihood of that player ever playing in the National Hockey League at all, is extremely rare and extremely slim. So is there more value to Kerfoot and Bjugstad right now because it's going to benefit the players on the team that are going to be, it benefits a Cooley and a Gunther, even a Keller, and helps make them better for 2 or 3 years from now. So is that more value to this franchise? And I think the answer is yes.
Devil's advocate for just a minute here. Bill Armstrong has demonstrated a consistent ability to bring in those types of veterans every offseason. So could you say, I'm going to get what I can get for him, and I'm going to find somebody else in the summer that can add that same thing? Obviously, there's risk involved there because you don't know the fit, and particularly with Nick Bjugstad, the impact that he's had on this room. But is there something there?
And that's fair because he has had the success doing that. But I think for me, it's about the character of the player more so than the player, how he plays on the ice. And for those two guys, specifically those two guys, I think their importance in the room is huge. And I think that, again, I'm not a general manager. I sit and do this. I'd keep both of those players on this team. I think they're valuable unless the return is so good that it helps me out 2 or 3 years down the road. And the best example of that right now is when they went out and acquired Sean Durzi. So Sean Durzi, to me, he's an RFA. They have to get Sean Durzi signed. Of all the people on this list, you want to get a first-round pick? You could probably trade him second for sure, but he's one of the chips that you go, okay, yes, teams would want Sean Durzi. He's young, he's offensive upside, and he's been able to defend. So if you want to trade somebody that's going to bring a return, it's Sean Durzi. But who are you trying to replace Sean Durzi with?
Right.
You're going to need Sean Durzi when you're ready to win. You need an offensive defenseman that can play 200 feet, log ice time, and be dangerous on the power play.
Yeah.
You need that.
They saw how much they needed it when Shane Gostisbehere left. So, and this guy fits with that mold of type of players that Bill would want to add, a guy that can grow with the core. So, I don't see them moving him.
So the only other one, Craig, Leah.
I got 2, but go ahead.
Well, this is the big one.
Yeah.
There is one that you could probably get 10 teams giving you high picks today.
Goalie.
For Connor Ingram. Connor Ingram right now is the biggest piece to this puzzle, and you have to make a decision. It's his second full year in the National Hockey League this year. He's still young in goaltender terms. He has a long way to go. I truly believe he's the number one goalie in this league. I do. I think he's the number one goalie. I think he plays with his calmness, and I think he makes the team around him better. He is the top asset in the trade market right now for this team.
Yeah, no question. I'm not moving him. I'm not moving a goaltender.
Because
that's
there
just
are
coming
teams
into his own.
Desperate.
Oh yeah, so many.
Desperate.
Would they be interested in a Karel Vejmelka? There are teams that are desperate, as you put it. And I don't know what the evaluation is of him around the league. I honestly don't know.
I don't know either.
But you look at look at the Colorado Avalanche. They need a goalie.
Their all-star Georgiev's not good enough?
Veggie and Prosvetov, how about that?
They need a goalie so badly. They're not winning a cup.
They're not winning a cup with Georgiev.
Nope, they're not.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade Ingram either because it's like we always compare the goalie situation to the quarterback situation. And you mentioned it, that Connor Ingram is still young. So he's still young that when the Coyotes come out on the other side of this, he could be a huge part of this team being really competitive. I just think you can't give up a guy like Hunter Ingram. I think that Karel Vejmelka is more like you can get rid of, like,
Can you replace him?
I don't know, like they just drafted 1,000 goalies. Like, there's a guy knocking from down, like, whether it's Matt Bielta or somebody they just drafted, or Anson Thornton or whoever coming down the road. But I think there's so many teams desperate for a number one goalie, and the Coyotes have it, and you have to covet it. Just like they covet Clayton Keller. You know, he's a top line player. Like, you have to covet those players. You can't just blow it up every time. Like, there is something, you know, yes, they've blown it up the last 2 years and all of that, but you also have to, you know, acquire those pieces and keep them. Sean Durzi, you mentioned he would fetch a return, but Sean Durzi is going to be a huge part of this Coyotes blue line for years to come. So yes, like, they could have a lot of value, but what's the point? Like, you're just going to keep blowing it up and get draft assets at some point. You need to see the game.
The purpose of the game is to win the Stanley Cup. It's not to have the most draft picks every year.
But it's fine if you want to, like, okay, you know, for this we have Durzi, okay, and then now we have Ingram, we have Keller, we have Cooley, and you build, and maybe you get rid of guys, and it'll hurt. Maybe a Nick Bukestad or even an Alex Kerfoot, as much as it would suck. Like, those are the guys that it's okay to let go of, because when the team is winning a Stanley Cup, hopefully in 10 years, the guys that I mentioned before are going to be part of it. Ingram, Keller, Durzi, and it's not going to be fair. Nick Bukestad. I'm sorry, Nick Bukestad.
No. Maybe
if it was based on
52-year-old Nick Bukestad.
If this was based only on the people they were, like Bukestad, Kerfoot, they're all on the first team. They all are.
Yeah.
But that's just unfortunately not how the business of hockey works.
Let me throw out another name, and a guy that, you know, there was a lot of chatter about him moving last year at the deadline. Nick Schmaltz. Now they got to get him right.
Someone said it in the chat earlier.
They got to get him right. He is not producing at the same clip he was last season. He's obviously out hurt right now, although it's minor. But he is a guy who can help offensively. He has we know who Nick Schmaltz is at this point. He has 2 more years left on his deal. I don't know if the Coyotes would have to eat some of that money. They might, with so many teams cap strapped at this point. But what could Nick Schmaltz fetch you at the trade deadline? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know what his value is on the open market. And there's 2 reasons. His consistency of play and his injury history. I think those 2 things would really limit his return. I think he's 5.8 for the next this plus 2. It's not a terrible number in today's NHL. It's doable with the cap going up hopefully in the next year. I think teams would look at that as an attractive number. And maybe if, you know, you always hear this, well, Schmaltz has been successful on a bad team. You put him on a good team with good players and surround him with good players. He'll be, well, this team's not as bad as people think, first of all. And he's been playing with a really good player for years now. My concern about Nick Schmaltz is the same thing it was 2 years ago, is he's hurt. He didn't get bigger and stronger, and he doesn't play consistently night in and night out. And that's a concern that I know, if I feel that way, that there are management teams across the NHL that feel the exact same way about Nick Schmaltz. When Nick Schmaltz is good, when he puts on his work boots and goes to work, kid can play. Yep. He's got elite speed, puck handling skills, playmaking ability. Kid is elite. The problem is you don't see that motor running all the time. And that would be the concern. So, to your point, he's a guy right now, he's 27 years old. If the right deal came along, that $5.8 million could go to something else.
Yep.
I wouldn't have a problem with trading Nick Schmaltz. And I know people out in the social world freak out, but he's 27.
Clayton Keller might freak out.
Well,
too,
that's the concern in the chat, is what
Clayton
happens
Keller wants to win.
To Keller. If Schmaltz.
You want to win? People want to win. Like, we talked about this with Vancouver, and we all love Rick Tocchet now. You know why Rick Tocchet? Because they're winning. If they were in last place with the same coach, they'd hate him. So things are much, much better when you're winning. And Clayton Keller will get over it. If he's got a winger that gets him points, and I think he can find it, he'll be much happier winning. I'm not sitting there actively trying to get rid of Nick Schmaltz. I'm not. And I don't even think that there's a huge market for him right now. First of all, he's hurt. And I know he could be back hour to hour. That I've never heard in my life. But he was hour to hour. And maybe that he could command that. But he's also going to have to get some points now between now and the trade deadline. Because I don't think he's put up the kind of numbers that a team's going to go, yeah, we're really going to take a flyer on Nick Schmaltz right now.
Yeah, I think he maybe diminished a little bit from last season. I think he had really high value last year.
Too.
They probably sensed it and thought,
I'm sure they thought about it.
Yeah.
And it comes back to Keller. Do you want to keep your superstar, your all-star happy? And I think there's a point, yes, you do, but also it's a business.
Yep.
And if we can get better by moving that asset, if we're better, you're better. Kels, you want to have a parade down Mill Avenue?
Yeah.
We got to do this. Like, and I think ultimately, I don't feel that pressure. I don't sense that pressure from management right now that they have to get rid of Nick Schmaltz. I don't feel that. But if he gets hot over the next month, I would absolutely consider if you can get the right return, because I don't think he's going to be a guy that's here 3-4 years from now when the team's ready to win. I don't.
I agree.
And I don't think you build around him either, where you can with Clayton Keller.
You know who will not be coming to the Coyotes? We talked about who could be leaving, but you know who's not coming?
Good Lord.
Jakob Chychrun. He's not coming back to the Coyotes.
No.
He's not.
That ship has sailed. I know, like, I actually like the fact that Coyotes fans fall in love with their players and fall in love with the idea of every former Coyote returning to play for the team. It's endearing, right? It's part of being a fan. You grow a love for these guys. But you saw the way that went down at the end. And listen, in spite of maybe some of the public statements that were polished and said what they had to say, also think about Media Day when Jakob Chychrun spoke from the heart. Think about the fact that they approached him about a possible trade. I can confidently say that door has closed on both sides. Both sides have locked that door. Jakob Chychrun doesn't want to come back here to play for the Coyotes, and the Coyotes are not interested in bringing Jakob Chychrun back. So just move on from that one because it's not going to happen.
Are you surprised a little bit, though, that he's been in Ottawa such a short time and there's trade rumors that he's not happy and wants to get out of there?
It's hard to parse the truth there, right? Like, you've got a couple things where some people say, well, he's not sure that he wants to commit to Ottawa. Maybe the shine has worn off. And then it's also, we're not sure if Jakob Chychrun is a part of our core after all.
Right.
I'm not sure what the truth is.
You're not sure what the real narrative there is.
Yeah.
If it's
so
coming
hard
from the
to
player
judge.
or if it's coming from management and or scouts or whatever. You know what I mean?
What's going to be really interesting is if Ottawa does move him, what's the return? And will it be what the Coyotes got for Jakob Chychrun? Because if it's not, remember all the chatter?
They could have got more.
Bring back Trade Talk Tuesday in the offseason.
Yeah, we'll probably, old takes exposed, right? We'll probably pull all that stuff up from Ottawa media, Canadian media, and say, remember this?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if he does command that now.
So Nikita Kucherov comes with the best trade proposal in the chat. Your whole forward group and picks for Nikita Kucherov. Sold.
You might not be wrong, Nikita.
Right now, like Nikita can crow right now. He's a Hart Trophy candidate. So
yeah, Nikita's having a good season. Maybe bet on Nikita Kucherov to win the Hart Trophy. That's something you can do over on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They have all of the NHL futures available, plus all the game lines. And of course, it's a NFL. The playoffs continue this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend of football, hopefully, because the first weekend was meh. I'm hoping that this weekend
it was kind of meh, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but
there was only
how's your
one
team
good
doing?
game.
The Vikings.
Oh,
Same as mine? Yeah,
Bears.
that's right.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, Sean DePaz's Buffalo Bills are still in, and that's going to be my DraftKings pick of the week. Buffalo Bills, a minus 148 money line against the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday, the later game. That's my DraftKings pick of the week. You're welcome, Sean. And if you want to bet that or bet against it, whatever you like, you can do so over at DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code PHNX. New customers can bet just $5 on the NFL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHNX. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved.
And if you don't want to just bet on the game, you want to go to the game. Game Time is the place for the last-minute ticket deals. It's the fastest-growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. If your anxiety can handle waiting till the last minute, the closer to the game or concert time, the better the price on tickets. I know because I waited out front of the Footprint Center for Blink 182, and it is 100% true. I waited for a flash sale, and I got the tickets I wanted at the price that I wanted. It's so easy. Even I can do it. Not sure about Craig, but I can do it. And I know Leah uses it all the time.
Yeah.
So all you have to do, it's so easy. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code PHNX, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Roaring Fork said, "See how it's done, PD?" After my gargantuan disclaimer read.
I know.
And
That was-
flawlessly, too.
I did
that
better
was
today.
flawless.
But that was pretty good.
I did
PD.
better today.
I'm proud.
That was better.
Yeah, it was great.
I didn't stumble through that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the disclaimers that get
And
me.
you
I
dropped
couldn't do that.
intercede last night. That was impressive.
There you go.
Well, you guys had the chance to chat with Lyndsey Fry, of course. It's an important weekend ahead. Skatin for Leighton this Sunday, the 21st. You can still register today at arizonacoyotes.com/skatin for Leighton. But Lyndsey, obviously a friend of the show, but you guys talked about more than just Skatin for Leighton.
We did, and we, basically woke her up because let's be honest.
Oh my
Lyndsey was on the
gosh.
trip and she said she got in after 4 a.m.
Yeah, and by the way, that was somebody in the
That's-
media crew that went right from the plane to her bed. There are staff people that didn't get home until 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's like PD's already been up for an hour and a half at that point.
That's
So
true.
shout out to Lyndsey for joining us today to talk about Skatin for Leighton, to talk about the Professional Women's Hockey League, and talk a little Yotes. So let's get to it, Leah.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's hear from Lyndsey Fry.
All right, Lyndsey, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're working on probably a short night's sleep after the late arrival from Vancouver, but wanted to talk to you about a couple things. We'll get to Skatin for Leighton in a moment. Nice sweatshirt, by the way. Yeah, wear that with pride. That's right. So I wanted to talk to you about the PWHL, first of all. The league made history again on January 6th when a record-breaking crowd of 13,361 watched Minnesota beat Montreal at XL Energy Center. That crowd crushed the attendance record of 83.18, previously set by Ottawa. I think it was 3 days earlier. What's your read on the early days of the PWHL after the merger of the two leagues?
Honestly, I think it's awesome. I think the merge between the two leagues, not even two leagues, but the merge between the PHF and then the PWHPA was an absolute necessity for a lot of reasons. One, I think you needed a lot of the players that opted to play in the PWHPA. Had a lot of the top name talent there. So from a product standpoint, you needed that. But you also, I think, needed a lot of the infrastructure from the PHF. You can't scoff at the fact that league existed for, closing in on almost 10 years. And so I think when you consider that aspect of it, I know the PWHA players or PWHPA players felt like that league wasn't where they wanted it to be relative to now. But I really think it was the blending of the two that has allowed for the PWHL to really pop off, in addition to the major investment that's taking place. I think it's fantastic. I have to admit, I hate saying surprised because that's not the right word. I think I was just so impressed and excited when I watched the first game. I watched the very first one. I thought the broadcast was really, really sharp, which for me was a huge aspect of it. You needed that. I felt like that was one area where the PHF and the PWHPA, for that matter, struggled. A lot of people can't watch the games in person, myself included. Like I'm not in one of those Northeastern or Canadian markets. So to have a really sharp broadcast, you can actually display like you would an NHL game or a men's professional game, and really show what the product is, the talent level, everything. It was awesome. So that blew me away. I've loved watching them. I love that the access is really high, being able to watch it on YouTube. But I think it's been fantastic to see it all come together.
Okay. You mentioned not being able to watch those games live, and that leads me to my second question. And you and I have talked a lot about the societal barriers to the growth of sports. But aside from that, which is a whole nother discussion, what practical steps can we take to build this game into something more than a regional sport, a game that we can actually watch here in Phoenix?
Well, I mean, I think the first step was just making sure that the product you were putting out there was truly the best of the best. And that's not just the players on the ice. That is collectively, that's, what are your sponsorships looking like? What does your broadcast look like? Who are your broadcasters? Who's actually sharing the message of this game and what you have to offer to a broader audience beyond what just exists in those regional markets? Then, of course, having it be in arenas where people do want to come and be part of that 13,000 crowd experience, even the 8,000 plus crowd, whatever it was at Ottawa, that initial record breaking. I mean, that building looked absolutely electric. I've been in that building personally before with the Coyotes, and to see it packed on TV was incredible. So I think, making sure that the people that are there having a great experience, the people who are not there are also having a great experience watching it on TV is a great first step, because then all of a sudden that helps get that ball rolling. I know through some of my contacts, the plan is certainly to have expansion teams down the road. Of course, the challenge with anything, this even goes back to like when people ask me, oh, well, when is ASU going to have a women's Division I team? I'm like, well, you have to consider the travel that has to take place with that, because, the closest D1 women's team is Minnesota. So everything is a hefty flight to be able to do that. Same thing with this concept. I think, you look at the furthest west team and you're looking at Minnesota. So I could see the league maybe expanding into two divisions, an East and a West, where, you get more teams like a Calgary, like I don't know, somewhere in the Midwest area, whether it be a Chicago or whatever. That I think is probably the next step for expansion for them. But the intent for the leaders of this league is not for it to be a 6-team, predominantly Northeastern league. There's a plan to expand. I think that's part of the business model. That's part of the long-term investment in ROI, and that's only going to create more opportunities for a lot of women's players who are looking to play.
We're going to switch gears a little bit, Lyndsey, and we're going to jump to one of your day jobs, and that's with the Arizona Coyotes. And you get to watch this team extremely close. You've seen them through their struggles recently at home, going 1-4 on the homestand, losing a late one in Calgary and dropping one last night in Vancouver. So they've had some recent struggles. But overall, the big picture, what are you seeing in the growth of this team as far as taking a step forward in their rebuild? Well,
I don't think you can argue that they've taken a step forward. Obviously, it's been a little bit more of a roller coaster throughout the season with the record, where, they win 5, lose 4, win 4, lose 5. And it kind of seems like that's been the theme of the season. But you look at the overall record, you look at the fact that they are actively in a playoff hunt. For me, just, taking the 10,000 foot view, that's a step forward. Well, now you get into the details. I think you look at some of the additions this year relative to previous years, guys like Sean Dursey, guys like Alex Kerfoot, people that are there to sort of round out what the team already has. Even like, I'll tell you a guy who has absolutely impressed me, Michael Kesselring. I have absolutely loved watching the way he plays. Obviously still a very young player, but you give that guy some development with that long defensive reach, his shooting ability. He could be a really impactful player on this team. And then, of course, Dylan Guenther kind of surprising everybody coming up. We thought it was going to be a short-term call-up, and he's making an impact. He was playing with Keller and Cooley last night. I thought they were the most electric line that the Coyotes had out there offensively. So, I think for me, you look at a lot of the different pieces and parts that are performing. Connor Ingram, another one. This is it's not an accident when the Coyotes upset teams. They are right there pretty much every single night. I think the games they're not are maturity lapses. And no player wants to hear that, obviously, but it's still a very young team. Still a lot of guys who are learning how to win. Even some of the guys who are 25, 26, this idea of being in a hunt for the playoffs is still relatively new. And, before maybe you look at the Krausers and the Kellers, and what they were part of in previous years. You go back to the COVID year when they were in the bubble and made it to that first round of the playoffs. They were the young guns on the team. Now they're the vets, and that's a totally different role to take when you are in, that type of hunt. So I think for me, the talent level has significantly increased. I think the compete level has increased. I think the belief that they can go in and win any game has certainly increased, and that's a big mindset shift. I think just that consistency, that maturity is the one piece that is still catching up, and they'll get there. But I think considering where they're at in the rebuild, I feel very positive about where the team is trending. Even that game last night, they controlled a significant part of that game against one of the best teams in the NHL. So I thought it was a really well played game, and they're right there every night.
All right, I can't believe it's already been 4 years, but an event close to you, the 4th annual Skatin for Leighton, will be held on Sunday at Mountain America Stadium, or for those of you like me who can't say that name, Sun Devil Stadium, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. What does the staging and the growth of this event mean to you personally, given your relationship with the family and with Leighton?
Oh gosh, I mean, it's so, I don't even know the best word. Like, spiritual is the word that I often tell people. Like, when they ask me about my experience skating those 100 miles that first year, that's the word that always pops up, because to feel that connection between Leighton and between the Accardo family, and taking all of that pain and struggle and everything that they went through and turning it into something really powerful and good that's going to live on forever. And I'm not even just talking about the event itself. Obviously, that is something we want to do indefinitely to ensure that Leighton's memory stays alive. But this money goes to help young girls who have financial barriers to play hockey, the sport that Leighton loved. And I know from my own hockey experience, I'm sure you guys know from your youth sports experiences, those are things that stick with you as a person forever. Those are memories that shape you foundationally for the rest of your life. And that is what this event does. So it's not just about girls getting to play hockey, or it's about literally taking the memory of this amazingly fun, bright, inspirational young girl and transforming the lives of hundreds of other girls. And when you look at it like that, I mean, it almost makes you want to cry, the impact that has. So for me, that's what it means. That's what it does. And, to be able to do that for Leighton and for her family and ensure that her memory is honored in such a way is just so incredible.
Yeah, one of the things that Carly said right afterward was she wanted to keep Leighton's memory alive, and she would make sure that she did that. In a broader perspective, this event has grown beyond the celebration of that one incredible life. It feels in some ways like Pat's Run to me. It's become an event that binds a community. I'm wondering if you feel that impact as well, not just with the girls community or the hockey community. Are you feeling it beyond that?
For sure. That's something that we really tried to emphasize this year, I would say more than previous years. The last couple of years, the target was definitely, let's get the hockey community out. Let's get, them bought into what we're trying to do. This year, we really tried to expand beyond that when we were marketing and setting up the event. We really wanted it to be more of a festival, something that you didn't have to have any connection to hockey, but if you were looking for something fun to do with your kids on a Sunday, you could come out, go walk in the grand, stadium. It's a pretty breathtaking experience, as you guys both know, being down there. We're going to have games. We're going to have music. We're going to have food. The inflatables are always a crowd favorite for the little kids. And so it's less about, hey, let's get the hockey people out to rollerblade. It's let's get the Arizona community, anyone that has been impacted by cancer, anybody that wants to make a difference in, the spirit of girls empowerment. this event's for you. And that has certainly, I think, broadened our minds with what the event could be and what we hope it becomes over the next, 5 to 10 years.
Love all that. A celebration of life, celebration of goodness. Lyndsey, we can't thank you enough for joining us today, especially on, as I said, a very short night's sleep. So thank you so much for sharing your insights.
You're so welcome. Thanks for sharing the story and all that you guys do. I appreciate it.
What a good soul. What a good soul Lyndsey Fry
she's
is.
the best.
Can't say enough good things about all the work that Lyndsey does in this community. But this event obviously tugs at the heartstrings. I got to know Leighton. I know the family. I'm going to be out there. And it's going to be an emotional day. But I loved all the things that she said about, it's touching a community now. And it's expanding beyond the hockey community. I mentioned it on the show. This almost feels like it's like a Pat's Run kind of vibe now, where this is something that brings the community together to not only to celebrate that amazing life that was Leighton Accardo, but to help girls hockey out and again just to bring people together. So I'm looking forward to going to this event, and while I'm there, of course, I'm going to interview Butterpig.
Yes.
Good God.
He
Here
will
it
be
is.
there.
There it is.
That
See?
might break the internet.
He's a
It
big
might-
celeb
it might-
in this town.
Might be our best clip ever.
You know what the sad state of affairs is, Craig, is you're probably right.
But also, you roll your eyes, but you literally interviewed Bill Armstrong's
You
Dog.
did.
I did.
You did.
No, I did.
Okay.
I understood the
Thanks, Leah,
assignment.
for calling him out.
You're welcome.
I did. understand.
we had the
Can
receipts.
will we put the link?
Yeah, so we have more information. Skating for Leighton this Sunday, January
There's
21st,
the pig
9
right there.
a.m. to 3 p.m. at Mountain America Stadium in Tempe. You can register at arizonacoyotes.com/skating for Leighton. I will drop the link in the chat in just a moment. But would love to see everybody at this event. It's a really great way to support the community.
Just want to go back to the one thing I said at the end of the interview too. Carly said something to me when I did just a gut-wrenching story. She wants to keep the memory of Leighton alive. I mean, what better way than to do it this way? Connection to this family. This is an amazing family, way beyond what Leighton's light brought to the world. This is an amazing family. Go out and support them. Go out and support the girls hockey community. Go out to Skating for Leighton.
Absolutely. Well, it is Flavoring Fridays today, so it wouldn't be a Flavoring Friday without a little OGs, especially the big OGs. If you're into that, that's a crazy one. 100 milligrams of THC total, but perforated into 10 slices. That's a lot of fun. They have the new vegan gummies, the naturals. They also, of course, have our favorites, the fruits and the creams, and Happy Balance, Indica, Sativa, Sleep Edition. So many different kinds and so many different delicious flavors. Blackberries and cream. Shout out. My favorite. It's really good. Orange creamsicle. They have the fruits as well. So check out OGs to learn more about OGs gummies and where you can find them. Head on over to ogsbrands.com.
And before you get your OGs, highly, highly, highly recommend, before you enjoy your OGs on the couch and relax on this Friday, before you do that, be prepared. Stop by some Burrows.
For the cravings.
Oh, buddy. Boy, honey, if you don't think that's real, tell my pantry.
I feel like we should eat mini chimneys on this show one day.
Oh,
I feel like
hell
we should.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
May
Daniel's
I
like,
suggest every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
By the resident Mexican. Some Burrows is family owned and
I love it.
operated and was voted America's most loved Mexican restaurant with locations throughout the valley and Flagstaff. You're never far from delicious, time-tested Sonoran-style recipes, lovingly prepared since the year I graduated high school in 1986. Come check out their newest locations in Goodyear, Peoria, and at the I-17 in Jomax. Or you can visit someburrows.com to find one near you. Let Some Burrows cater your next big meal or small one. Order online or find one near you by visiting someburrows.com.
That might have been your best ad read yet, Petey.
Thanks. I'm working on it. I'm
That
trying to
was-
get better. I think I really disappointed our sponsors last night, so I'm trying to battle back
Empire today.
I was horseshit last night. It was so bad. It was late.
It's your
You know what time I
birthday.
go to bed?
You know what? It was your birthday. You shouldn't have been working.
That's fair.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a thing?
Can we talk about your birthday a little more?
Not
And
really.
birthdays. I actually wanted to talk about
Sure.
birthdays. Like, what
Okay.
is people? There are some people. It's like it's my birthday month.
Thank you. My kids have a birthday week.
It's my
What is
birthday
up
week.
with that? And if you cave to that and give them the birthday week when they're smaller children,
Birthday week?
at what point do you cut it off? When is it time to say, hey, you know what? You're 37 now. I don't think we should be doing the birthday week anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. And
Oh,
don't
buddy.
expect
It's a
anything
thing.
from me. By the way,
It's a
thanks for the
thing.
cake, but you're not getting one. Like I
You brought me a cake on my birthday 2 years ago.
Did I?
Yeah, you brought me a carrot cake, remember?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It must have been at the store or something else.
It's just already at the
It was
store.
already there.
Yes,
No.
you did eat cake today, A-Root.
I did have the cake. Cake was outstanding, and Tara did a great job. I just honestly, here's the deal. I'm old. So I really, really, really don't care anymore. And I don't care.
I'm there with
If
you.
somebody passes me in the hallway and says, happy birthday, that's good enough.
Thank you.
We don't have my
good.
wife and I were going out to dinner. We're just
Right.
going to dinner. But you know what? We'd probably go out to dinner anyway because it's Friday. So we probably anyway. It's not like we're not putting on hats and party blowers and the neighbors aren't coming over. No, I'm old. 21, blow it out.
Yep.
Go crazy. Bring in every person you ever went to school with. Knock yourself out. Sweet 16, nailed it. 25 and older.
Maybe
we're starting to get
milestones,
there.
like milestones, like 40, 50. Like, is
I
that
didn't
worth
do anything
doing?
at 50 either.
You didn't? Okay.
No.
Right.
But so now I really, and I'm not, I'm a dick sometimes, but I don't care. I don't care.
About the birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same, honestly. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Great.
Happy birthday.
Okay. It's
Okay.
just a day.
It literally is just a
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
That
it's
now
just a
I'm
day.
older.
Leah's like, I'm not there yet.
No, but
I'm not there yet. I definitely I think that some people definitely overdo it. And it's like
Yeah.
my birthday week and here's all the events.
Or post it like, hey, it's my birthday on social media. So
Well, also, like the thing I get, sometimes like for me, I'll do birthday dinner with family, birthday dinner with friends, birthday dinner with boyfriend. Like I get how those, that kind of extends it a little bit. But I do get it because the older you get, the less you care.
Yeah, it is. And
At like 30,
it's almost like you don't want to be reminded.
well, like
it's true.
I'm turning
Yeah.
30 in a couple years.
30's a big one.
Like
30's
I feel like
hard.
that's significant.
30
that
is
should
hard.
That should be a big celebration.
and
That's hard. 30 and 40 were hard. 40 was really hard. 40's like, oh shit, now I'm getting old. Like that's like you're old. 40?
One of my best friends called me on my 40th birthday. He goes, halfway.
See, that's the
Thanks,
saddest
buddy.
part. Isn't that sad? But and I hate to bring this show to a screeching halt, but at 56, aren't you starting to think, oh, buddy, like they're, oof. You read in the paper, that guy died and he's only 70? Like,
Yeah.
oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'm 56.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thanks everybody for all the wishes, but don't do it next year. Just let's skip it.
Well, it's my fault because I put it out
No, it
there.
was good. It was
Yeah.
good. I got a lot of, and I think it reminded a lot of people that are close. And I'm not. I let my son off the hook. I told my son, and this is where we're all about presents at our house, and that's Christmas and birthdays. Just don't forget my birthday. If you send me a text, it's a win. You don't need to buy me a card. You don't know gifts. Just call me. If you call me on every birthday I have from here on out to my son, it's a win.
So the birthday week, back to that.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Like, okay, it is a thing, Petey.
I know.
And I know you won't accept it as a thing, and that's fine.
Is it for teens or is it
That's
tweens?
what I'm
Or
asking.
what is
When
it?
do we cut it off? And, asking for a friend. When do you cut off
I
the
think-
birthday week?
I think like after college, you're done.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Because college, you can make it a thing. It's like pregame
friends,
Thursday
yeah.
and
That's
then
fair.
Saturday.
But what if they does graduate school count?
Listen, I guess.
I mean, it could be a long stay in graduate school too, right?
True.
Yeah, I don't
So
partake.
I like 22. I like college. Or,
Yeah.
whenever you finish college, I like that idea. So I think I'll enforce that.
yeah. Oh boy. All right. Well, it is Friday. We haven't done this in a while. Anyone have a good weekend binge recommendation?
Not going to be binging this weekend on anything because I'm going to be working all
Busy.
weekend. But I just finished 000, which is a
Oh, yeah,
miniseries.
you
It's
told us
one
about
season.
that.
It's 8 episodes. It's terrific. It's dark though. I got to tell you, it is dark. It's about the cocaine trade, multiple sides of the cocaine trade. It is a dark show, but it is really well done.
True Detective is coming out. It just came out with Jodie
yeah.
Foster on the
Whoa.
newest version.
I did not know that.
Came out this week.
Okay.
It's premiered on Sundays. It'll be every Sunday on HBO.
Have you watched any yet?
I'm waiting till there's 2 or 3 because if I just watch one, I'll go out of my mind.
Yeah, that's true.
It looks.
That's
I
fair.
watched the trailer. It looks exceptional. And True Detective for me is either hit or miss for the entire season.
Completely agree.
The first one was fantastic.
Spectacular. By far the best
Yeah,
one.
by far the best of the series, and this one is kind of returning to those roots, and it's in I believe it's in Alaska, so it kind of has a real Fargo feel to
Is
it.
it dark?
Dark.
Okay, like
Dark.
I mean, Jodie Foster,
Yeah, it's dark.
Silence of the Lambs. We
It's
know.
dark. And somebody in the chat needs to help me out. And CWP's always on his Google. Hulu has a new murder mystery on a ship, and it's a detective type thing. It reminded me of Agatha Christie, like Murder on the Nile. A little lighter, a little campier, but it's a murder mystery, and that also started this week. And it premieres on Tuesdays, and I'm waiting for that to build up 2 or 3 episodes too. But I need CWP to Google it. It's the murder mystery on Hulu. It's the number 1 show on Hulu right now.
Cool.
So those 2 things are getting it this weekend.
So I haven't watched a TV show since Bodies. I've been reading. Like I've read, I think, 6 books since I finished Bodies. But I like.
Were you reading last night when I got here?
I was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I was. I like once I get into a book, I love it. I love reading. So I've been reading the same author because he has like 6 or 7 books, and you can read all of them independently. But if you read them in the order they were published, like there's callbacks to events and people.
Wow.
So it's kind of fun. So I've read them in the order, and you're like, he'll just mention one person once on a page, and you're like, that was the main character in the book I just read. And so the author's name is Charlie Donnelly. They're like true crime, thriller, mystery types, and they're very good. So check it out. They're all on Kindle
CWP
Unlimited.
came through, by the way.
Death and Other Details.
Death and Other Details on Hulu.
Cool.
Thanks,
I'm definitely going to check both of those shows out.
Yeah, they look really good.
I want to mention one other thing for Binge. Rolling Stone, at the end of the year, I don't know if you guys caught this, did a list, and lists are, what they are. People are going to disagree with lists. They're going to have issues that certain works of art were left off or lower ranked than they should have been, whatever. You can get past all that stuff. But Rolling Stone came out with the top 500 albums of all time. And I went through, and I was looking at some of them.
Pyromania, clearly.
What's been cool about it, there are 2 things. Apple Music has released a playlist from this, with 1 song from each of these albums that you can play on Apple Music. But it's also allowed me to go back and sort of rediscover some of these albums. And I didn't know it was going to be number 1. Like I've always thought Fleetwood Mac Rumors was one of the greatest albums of all time, and it's top 10.
Oh, is it really?
It's like one of the most complete albums I've ever heard. Number 1 on this was Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? So I started listening to the album again. I'm just like, my God, this was good. It's a masterpiece. So it was kind of cool to do that.
I like Weekend Binge
list,
of
Craig?
music. That's
that. Where was that list?
Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because it truly is the soundtrack of our lives. And there's albums. And it's funny, though, when you and I were kids, we digested our music through albums. If you liked a song, you bought an album, and so if you liked one song by a group, you got stuck with 10 to 12.
I had that,
but now it's just like, I got this one song on Spotify that this high school kid released. From
something
Cleveland.
gained, something lost, right? Convenience and all that. But then, like the album art,
I had a Walkman.
Yeah,
and you'd read you'd read the liner notes as the record's playing, and you'd look through all the pictures on the album covers.
Some of them got creative too. Like Led Zeppelin had on In Through the Outdoor, when you pulled out the sleeve, it's black and white, but if you brushed it with a wet sponge, it was watercolor. It turned colors.
That's unreal.
It's cool as hell.
Yeah, I miss those days of sitting there listening to vinyl. I do. That's just made
completely
me sad.
agree. But check out the list. It's kind of
really
cool. Like whether you disagree
I've got my
with some
definitive
of them.
list of top albums, but clearly it's music is so
that
personal.
might have to be a summer. So
that's a great show.
Our best albums rankings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun
in the summer.
Yep.
Someone remember that, Danielle. Write it down.
Rumors is in my top 10 for sure.
Unbelievable album.
Yeah, great.
Unbelievable album.
I will say I already said it. Pyromania is number 1 though.
Yeah.
Pyromania 404. Like Pyromania, I broke the Columbia House record cassettes. Yeah. I went through 3 of them. I burned them out. Like they just
my gosh,
that's so well.
Crazy.
Like I listened to Rumors and amazed. It's almost 50 years old, and it's a timeless album. It's incredible. Yeah.
And by the way, Mandy Patinkin, who you've known from screen and Broadway, he is the star of that Death. He's the detective on that.
Oh, I love him.
Okay.
So I think you would really enjoy it. So anyway, have a good weekend.
Yes.
Do we have to work?
Yeah, we have a game tomorrow.
Oh,
and then
1 o'clock though.
Practice and skating for Leighton on Sunday. So yeah, it's a work weekend.
I'm going to throw you on the spot.
Oh,
so to do that would be because we'll be here, right? I assume we're coming here to do that show.
Yeah.
How hard is it to do something for our diehards live, like for one of the periods? Like remember how we did that live thing?
Easy.
Here? Can we do a live thing?
Like during the period?
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll think about it.
So
diehards.
If you're a diehard, we're trying to give you extra exclusive content. Yes. Obviously, Petey has his diehard only Petey's Puck Talk. Craig has his Die Hard only articles, including the prospect report that dropped this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you can only read that if you're a Die Hard. We try and get in there at least once a week in the Discord for a Q&A. So if you're a Die Hard and you're not in Discord, I highly recommend getting in there, because besides the website, it's the best place to get access to all of these things. Plus, being a Die Hard, you get 20% off merch and events like our putting party.
Oh, yeah.
This coming Wednesday at Putting World. It's going to be a freaking blast. Hang out with the PHNX Suns crew and other diehards to watch the Suns take on the Mavericks. Event tickets include
how much beer and wine can you have?
Unlimited
beer and wine? Unlimited beer and wine? With your ticket. That's included.
And free putting. But even if you don't putt, the unlimited beer and wine pays for itself. Plus, we're giving away 2 rad golf sound plus golf speakers, which are each $150 value, and giving away Suns tickets. So I think I just named like more than enough reasons to come to the putting party.
It's a great sports bar too.
It's amazing.
Yeah, good restaurant, sports bar. You can watch the game. Like the screens. It might be just on a standalone sports bar. It's the best one in that little area of Frank Lloyd Wright and Scottsdale Road.
Yeah. Can I note something else that is available to diehards? And we haven't been using it a lot, but we're going to start really using it. And you know who's going to be using it a lot is Leah Merrill, because
the blog.
Leah Merrill is going to the NHL All-Star game in her
What?
hometown of Toronto.
And I'm going to blog.
She's going to blog. She's going to produce all sorts of video content.
What the hell we got to do? We got to work by ourselves?
Yeah, by yourselves.
Leah,
good luck.
I think we have like 74 pieces of content for Leah to produce while she's in Toronto. No, I'm kidding.
We should make
Hope it's not that many.
We should give her a number like that and see if she can do it. I'm in.
Give her a challenge?
No shit.
Okay.
She's going to Toronto.
Go big.
Go big or go home.
I like it.
Go to Drake's place where he sells clothes. What's that again? His store?
OVO.
Yeah, I don't
There's
know.
one in Eaton Center.
So it'll be fun. Leah will be blogging in the Diehards Only blog. So
yes.
Another perk of being a diehard.
Cool.
Yes.
Are you going to try to talk to some All-Stars?
Yes.
Cool.
I am.
I'm excited.
And What Chaos will be out there too. So hopefully, hoping to meet up with Sean.
Really cool.
We can
Sean
team up for
I hope the
PHNX
weather's
Coyotes
good
content.
by that time. It could be, it's hit or miss, right? Could be
Very
great, could be awful.
Yep, I'm nervous. Anywho, should be a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
But anyway, lots to look forward to on the
Diehards.
PHNX Sports YouTube channel and for Diehard. So be sure to subscribe to PHNX Sports and be sure to subscribe to PHNX Coyotes wherever you get your podcasts. Audio only episodes dropping weekly, including one this week with Connor Garland. So check that out. We have a ton of guests on the horizon for those. Lindsay Smith, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry I tried. If you're listening and don't know what I'm talking about, just go on Craig's Twitter. That's all I have to say. But we will be back live tomorrow after the Coyotes take on the Nashville Predators. So be sure to tune in to our post-game show then. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill, at Craig S. Morgan, at Abraca Danielle. You can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, everybody, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
We all silly like the mayor.